What's going on? Welcome to West of the 110, where real ones speak, fluff gets cut. I'm your host, Hunter P, here with my boy Brandon Black. He's not here today, but Hunter P, Brandon Black, the show's about challenging the narrative, politics, culture, community, and everything in between. We're asking questions folks dodge, especially when it comes to the black experience in America. So, if you're ready for the truth without filter, let's get into it. Today we got Mr. Milo here, represent Texas. He's a Morehouse man, very educated man. You know what I'm saying? HBCU grad. I'm glad to have him here. I try to reach out to everybody who has something good going for themselves. Educated brother that you see, we had one last week, Ivy League brother. Mr. Milo, man, the floor is yours, man. Why don't you go ahead and tell people a little bit about yourself before we get into these questions? How your week is starting off, how your weekend went. You know what I'm saying? What's on your mind? Shit. Hey, talk shit. Hey, it's yours.
Thank you for having me here on the show, Honey P. Well, I'm recovering from shoulder surgery I had last week. And if you never had shoulder surgery, ooh-wee, shoulder is tender. I had my rotator cuff pad on my left shoulder. From wear and tear, I'm 51 years old. I done beat my shoulders up. I'm in Texas. We play football, working hard. It was just time. I couldn't live with it no more. It was waking me up. Other than that, I've been having a good week. I'm glad to be alive. I'm glad God gave me another chance to get it right today. Um, I love my family, my children, my mama, and my family members that passed on, and hopefully I represent them well today. Oh, education. Okay, I talked about that. I forgot. I'm born in Galveston because that was the free hospital for poor people in Port Arthur. My water broke and she drove to Galveston, Texas. That's why I was born, Galveston, Texas. Raised in Port Arthur, Texas, the majority of my life. Um, when I was young, my parents were married. They got divorced when I was probably about 7 years old. But anyway, around 1984, Reaganomics hit Port Arthur. That's when they started outsourcing jobs. They had a massive layoff at the oil refinery that my mom worked at, so she left Port Arthur, moved to Houston. I stayed out here with my father and other relatives, and I got to missing my mama, and I moved to Houston. So from sixth grade until senior year, my chronology is kind of crazy. Let me give you a quick example. First through five, kindergarten through fifth grade, I was in Port Arthur. Sixth grade, I moved to Houston and went to Cutler Middle School in Third Ward off Yellowstone. That was a hell of a culture shock experience coming from a small town and moving to the big city. It was like, whoa, But I made it. Seventh grade, moved back to Port Arthur. I missed my friends. Came back out here, seventh grade, Woodrow Middle School, played football. The end of seventh grade, I missed my mama. I moved back to Houston. Eighth grade year, I went to Sharpstown Middle School. Enjoyed. I really was raised in my adolescence to young adulthood in Port Arthur and Houston. After eighth grade year, ninth grade, came back to Port Arthur
Yeah.
for the first semester. Second semester, January came. I went back to Houston with my mom. I was back and forth between my mom and my daddy. Stayed out there ninth and 10th grade, Lamar High School in Houston. 11th, 12th grade, came back and graduated in Port Arthur from Lincoln High School, the famous Lincoln High School. But I was always interested in reading books. I used to love reading books. It was like I didn't know other people didn't read. I learned to read early, like 4 years old. My mom would order me these books. Used to come in a box, had the bus with different characters on it. I don't know. I mean, I'm dating myself. We had the Black American encyclopedias, Britannica Encyclopedia, World Encyclopedia. So I was always reading. I love dinosaurs. I love history. I love science. I'm the only child. I don't have any brothers and sisters, so that consumed a lot of my day. Reading. Then I go outside, play with my friends. I'll go hang in the projects. My grandmother lived in the projects. I didn't have a concept of poverty, so I didn't understand why people didn't want to be in the projects with all the kids. That's all the kids said. We had enough kids for every team. Football, basketball, baseball, field up both sides,
Yeah.
But I was different than them because I play with them and everything. Then I go home and read a book. I didn't know everybody wasn't doing that. I didn't find out till later
Yeah.
that I was different in that way. My mama introduced consciousness to me, black consciousness to me. She used to point out different things. See, don't be like that, little king. See that black man? He talked to a white man. He buying his head down. You look at him in the eye. You a man. You give him a firm handshake. You deal with him with business. Look at so little scenarios like this. She was always dropping gems on me growing up, and so I always had a strong sense of black pride and black identity from a youth. Then, like my eighth grade year, she had a book, she wasn't reading it. She handed me, asked, could I read it? It was the biography of Marcus Garvey. Woo, that blew my mind, you know. Well, what Marcus Garvey was talking about, all we heard about, all I was exposed to was I Have a Dream speeches, Black History Month, with these generic characters that they present to us, the safe characters. And Marcus Garvey was one of them. And from Marcus Garvey, the next book I read was the autobiography of Malcolm X. Like going to the ninth grade year, and I was off to the races after that. So it made me want to. I had a hunger for black knowledge, black history, black culture. I was black pride. I wanted to be surrounded by that, and I learned more about Dr. Martin Luther King and the movement. And I saw he graduated from Morehouse College. What's Morehouse? So I started doing research by Morehouse College, the Atlanta University Center, because it's a total of 5 colleges all within blocks of each other. Morehouse College, Clark Atlanta University, Morris Brown College, ITC,
Yeah.
Religious College, Morehouse School of Medicine, Spelman College right across the street from Morehouse. I say, man, all the black people right there. That's where I got to be. So I let my football dream go, and I wanted to go to Morehouse.
I know you hated
And
that.
oh, I hated that. You know, I grew up playing football since a youth. Football is everything in Texas. And
Yeah.
so I left here and went to Georgia after I graduated high school in 1992. Arrived in Atlanta, Thurman Hall, 3rd floor, Morehouse College, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome experience being around all them black people, seeking knowledge, had knowledge, black people from across the country because it's a national institution. Unlike some other regional institutions, Morehouse attracts brothers from around the country and around the world because I went to school with brothers from almost every one of the 50 states. I even met a black dude from Hawaii. I was like, man, you know they had black people in Hawaii. Another one partners from Iowa. You know what I'm saying? Iowa. What you doing in Iowa, man? You know, but it was cool. Made lifelong friends that I'm still cool with today. And I try to go back
Yeah.
every year if I can for homecoming. Now, as far as the knowledge side, what they were espousing and thinking about and talking about in that environment, that incubator, Atlanta University Center, Morehouse, man, that was during the time uh, the Cosby Show introduced us to a different world, and those scenes from a different world that was all being shot in Atlanta University and at Morehouse and Spelman. And that's when black consciousness was hot. And we used to walk around with African medallions. They were wearing Morehouse Spelman, Fisk, FAMU, shirts all in the movies and in the TV shows. So it was put out there visually and subconsciously, HBCU, HBCU. So it was like, that was a thing to do. And I learned a lot in class. I learned almost even more outside of class because we would stay up in the dorms till 2, 3 in the morning, even though we had 8 o'clock class, arguing and debating with each other. It was like iron sharpening iron, you know. And when we're in classroom, one thing I took with me forever, they used to tell us, you can take any position you want, you just have to defend it. It's what I'm saying. Don't come in here with an argument that you can't defend. Don't come in here without studying your argument, just saying, I believe this way because I feel this is supposed to be this way. They would laugh you out of class, where some professors be like, "You're not supposed to be in that seat. You ain't supposed to be in Morehouse." You know, it was like intellectual warfare. And the first time
Yeah.
I presented an argument and I could defend it, oh shit, that was the last time I did that. I made sure every time because I got humiliated, you know, because I think I'm smart, but everybody up there is smart. I'm not. I'm just one of many. And shit, they were well prepared. And you disagree with them, but you can't explain why you disagree with them, they're gonna cut you up because they're gonna read your information, you know, and they're gonna read their information. They're gonna break down your information and explain to you why they disagree with it. So I had to practice that, learn that, and how to present and protect my argument and explain to them, I understand your argument, this is why I disagree with it. You know, so it was lovely, man. I was calling home, telling my mom, man, look, guess what I learned today? Guess what I learned that? But she got tired of me. I was calling her 2, 3 times a week, telling her what I learned in class by different people, different figures, different eras. It was a lovely place to be in the early 90s
Yeah.
in Atlanta. Like the campus was like a magnet, man. Everybody who was everybody in the black world used to come through there for free. You know, we had Stokely Carmichael come through. Bobby Hemmett worked down the street at the little burger spot. Angela Davis come speak. Um, the guy who was in Clinton administration, Ron Sutton, got dog. He was there. Football players, actors. They wanted to come see us. Like we was the stars. We think y'all the stars. You know, it was just like a beautiful mix of black culture. It was an incubator, and it set me on a path that a journey that I've never left from to this day. You know, I have a deep sense of loving who we are. Um, I try to keep my black manhood strong. You know, my love for black culture. Because as we elevate, America elevate because we are a part of America. So when we do good, America do good.
Yeah.
You can't have a part of America doing bad because it dragged down America. And I'm a type of person that I recognize the problems that black people have, but I don't think we are the problem in America. A lot of people buy into the argument. Sometimes I reject it vehemently a little too hard. Forgive me if you ever see me argue too hard, but that's my passion. Because passion and anger are cousins. They look the same, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just real passionate about this subject and our people. I like my major. I started out majoring in history, African American studies, but that became my minor. Once I was in the classroom, I was opened up to the world. And so my major is I graduated with a degree in international studies. Some colleges call it international affairs. We studied things like Latin American politics, European politics, African politics, conflict resolution, international
Yeah.
organizations, international political economy. So I got to see worldwide the plight of black people and how the system worked globally. Because if you look at the system work globally, it's locally it's doing the same thing. You know, it's mimicking what's going on globally or vice versa. So I was able to sharpen my thoughts, my approach to this thing, and really understand more about um, life and the good, the bad, and the ugly. And eventually I graduated, worked many hard jobs. I have 3 beautiful children. And now I'm in the art industry out here back home in Texas. I've been a teacher. I taught school for
Yeah.
7 years. I worked in the prison system for 7 years. I sold cars. I did a whole bunch of stuff. But what, in particular, being a teacher and a correction officer showed me America from how they prepare the future of America through these children and the bottom of American society in the prisons and people who fell through the cracks. And I got to hear a lot of their stories. And nobody I met in prison ever said they was proud of what they did. They always like, Milo, man, if I would just listen, I was smart. I like math. I like science, you know, but the streets wasn't a lure to them. Drugs wasn't a lure to them. That that life that's promoted to us in popular culture wasn't a lure to them. Some people think black equal thug. That ain't true. Or black equal ignorant. That ain't true. And some people buy into that. So anyway, I know I'm rambling, but that's my a piece of my origin story.
Oh no, you
I'm ready,
good.
whatever you are.
You good, man. You good, man. I mean, hey, people need to hear this because a lot of people, they hear talk come from different people, and some of the stuff that people say is good talk, but they like, wait a minute, they may be saying something good, but what about that person? I want to know a little bit about that person. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right,
anybody can tell you anything when they lived it or been through it. They may have heard it from somebody else and telling you. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to
right,
let
right.
people know like a little bit about yourself because they appreciate it. I mean, somebody gonna say, "Hey, I can relate to that guy." Hell, I'm from that part of man. I was born in Galveston. You know what I'm saying? Like so.
I was happy when I found out the first black heavyweight was born in Galveston, Jack Johnson. I said we got a kinship. We both from Galveston.
Like Jack Johnson shit, Galveston shit. People remember Kappa Beach '99, man, down in that area, man. It was man.
Yeah, Capital Beach part was something else. Boy, I used to sneak. We used to sneak in high school. We used to sneak down there. And of course I went in my early
Yeah.
20s. And then being in Atlanta, I did Freak Nick too. So I got to see the best of both worlds, boy. And we ain't gonna say all that on the show, but I had some fun.
Oh man. Man, but shit, hey, you know what? If you're ready, man, we're gonna get in these questions, man. Let's see if we can answer some questions and give some people some news they could use.
Let's do it.
So my first question to you is, what would you say to black people or black folks who still push the Democratic vote despite decades of same outcomes in our communities?
It's kind of sad because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. You'll hear arguments like, our people died for the right to vote, so we got to vote, you know. And that's as a partial truth for that, to that. But our people were fighting and dying for power. And at that time, we saw one of the paths to power was through voting. But we never put all of our eggs in that one basket, you know, because power is not true, and real power is not in elective politics. In politics, period, power comes from the controlling and owning of resources. Let me give you a quick example. Like, we got a lot of Asians out here. In Port Arthur, we got Vietnamese. Other cities, they got Cambodians, Chinese, Koreans, or whatever. They have the smallest percentage as far as voting because they understand that true power comes from economics, controlling the resources. When you get your money up and you insulate yourself, you could protect your group from a lot of political bull junk, from a lot of social stuff, because you're able to feed y'all, clothe y'all, house y'all, retire, your elderly, take care of them, and all that. So I think, in my view, politics should be a transactional thing. We shouldn't align ourselves with any party. We should, whoever give us the best deal, but we still understand that that's not, we vote and then go home. We vote or it's taken care of. The Democrats got us. They understand that we believe that way. So they kind of pimp us. I think we have almost like battered woman syndrome when it comes to Democrats. There's a woman
Yeah.
who's married to a man. He beat her ass all the time, but she won't leave him. You're like, damn, why this woman won't leave this man? He ain't doing nothing right by her. He beating her, but she love his dirty draw. And just the hope and promise that one day he might get better because she love him so much. She gonna stick around and stay with him. We had that same relationship with the Democratic Party. They beat us. They don't give us any tangibles. They don't give us anything major that would help
Yeah.
elevate our situation. All they do is give us symbolic gestures. Well, we got this first or a black woman on Supreme Court. We got Obama as president. We got this black person in this high position. Man, that helped those people. Those resources ain't getting to the majority of us, the masses. So we supposed to be proud because they got a good job. No, that wasn't the point of this. The point of this is to improve our condition as black people. And in fact, voting is not as important as we think it is because most of the rights we got by putting our bodies on the line, holding our ground, stating our case. This is what we want, and we ain't changing our mind. We did it against immense pressure, against lynchings, political killings. You know, how do we get the
Yeah.
right to vote? By voting? No, we didn't vote to get the right to vote. We we should
No,
study
no.
how we gain certain power and privileges and mimic that, and still understand in the political world that that's not the end all and be all. In fact, the end all and be all is really about power. A lot of people are afraid of that word. You think about
Yeah.
Stokely Carmichael talking about black power. Well, they were right. We need power. A battery can't work if it ain't got power. We won't wake up in the morning. We ain't got the power inside of us. The Lord put in us, and the nutrition we ate to
Yeah.
get us up in the morning. Power is essential to existence. And the goal here is for black people to survive into the future and thrive right here while we're alive. You know, Not wait for some token gesture or some handout from the government. If the government don't give us shit, we should still be okay. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to insulate ourselves, if you don't mind.
Let,
I got a quick
let
excerpt. I want
me.
to go ahead on.
No, I want to ask you a question, real not another question, but I want to ask you something pertaining to what you were just talking about. Why do you think the loyalty exists to the Democratic Party? Is it tradition, or is it is it fear, or is it lack of options?
A little of both, a little of all of them. It's they use first of all. Let me talk about fear because we under a lot of it right now. You can see it. The Democrats learn how to tap into black fear. We ain't giving you shit, but if you vote for them, they racist. They might put you back in chains. They gonna bring slavery back. You understand? And they tap into our fear, making like you have no options but to vote for the Democrats, even though the Kamala said when she was running, do something for black people. No, you know what I mean? They telling you they ain't gonna do shit for us, but we still vote for them. So they use fear, number one. Number two, they use the media machine, the propaganda. We see Jay-Z, Beyonce Democrats. We see a lot of music entertainers, athletes are Democrats. Oprah going interview the Democrats. Gail, D.L. Hughley ignorant behind, Roland Martin. And it's a constant drumbeat. And for some reason, black people worship celebrity, and they know that. So they use our own black celebrities against us, you know. So they use fear, propaganda in the media, and just pure down trickery. They make you think they did something for you, but they didn't. And things that were designed
Yeah.
specifically for us, they give it to other groups. An example, the 13, 14, and 15 amendments were written after the Civil War during the era of time called Reconstruction. These were known as the Reconstruction Amendments, Freeman Amendments. People say the 13th Amendment ended slavery everywhere except in prison. The 14th Amendment was written to undo a wrong. A gentleman by the name of Dred Scott, who was a slave,
Yeah.
he had moved from the South to a free territory. That's when they had territories as they were moving westward expansion. And his master died. He had been living in free territory for a while, so he sued for his freedom because his family back in the South was like, "Come on, nigga, come back down here, be our slave." His previous owner's family. So he sued. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Chief Justice said, you don't even you're supposed to be in here. Because you ain't even a human being. You ain't human, you property. You have no rights to it. Black people have no rights to any man should white man have to respect. So with that ruling, boom, he sent it back into slavery. But whatever the Supreme Court decide become law. So that case made it where black people were not citizens. Black people weren't even considered human. We were considered property. So they wrote the 14th Amendment to fix that. We said you were citizens by birth through naturalization. We had been here for hundreds of years. They knew we were citizens. They, once they got rid of slavery, they knew we had nowhere else to go. Where we gonna go? We don't even know what country we come from. That's the 14th Amendment. But that amendment has been used against us. It wasn't designed for people to sneak into the country illegally, have a baby, and now they baby is a citizen. It wasn't designed for that purpose. It was written specifically for black people to undo a wrong. But other groups have been allowed to piggyback off of and use things that were designed for us to their benefit and to our detriment. That's the 14th Amendment. Remember, it's 13, 14, and 15. The 15th Amendment gave black men the right to vote. Because only men were voting at that time. But it was first it was just white men who owned property. Then they extended it to white men. Now they extended the vote to black men with the 15th Amendment. So these things were used specifically for us, written for us, but used by other groups. So even if they give us something in one hand, they'll take away with the other. Also, for the majority of the time in this country's history, black people have been Republican. The Republicans were the abolitionists. The Republicans were the ones in Congress. Lincoln was a Republican. He was the first Republican president. Republicans led the charge to end slavery. So after slavery over, the natural thing was for black people to be Republican. And we were Republican from the 1860s, 70s, all the way until the 1930s. And we switched from being Republican for one president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because he came trying to battle the Great Depression, and they came with a lot of government programs that gave black people jobs, different subsidies, helped raise us up, the whole country, because everybody was doing bad. So black people went where the money was at. You understand? Our vote was transactional. We understood that at that time. The Republicans wasn't doing shit for us. Herbert Hoover was the president right before him, made the economy worse. So we're like, hell with these Republicans. We're going with the Democrats, something that we done forgot since then. So we switched over to Democrats, and we've been loyal to them ever since. In fact, one of the most racist presidents, LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, when he signed the Civil Rights Act 1964, he said, we're going to have these N-words in our pocket for the next 100 years, And they knew the culture and psychology of black people because we feel like we wedded to them at the hip, even though it's not a benefit to us at this time, in my opinion.
It's crazy because a lot of this stuff that had taken place, it wasn't that long ago. Martin Luther King's death, that wasn't that long ago. Stokely Carmichael, wasn't that long ago. A lot of these people, what I'm saying? So I'm going back to what you said earlier about reading. That's why it's important to read something, know your history, know facts, what I'm saying? Pick up something and read it, what I'm saying? Like, because for one, you want to know your arguments, and like you say, everything entwines with each other, man. Everything you just said, I'm just saying I 100% agree with. I mean,
Yeah, Malcolm X said that if you want to get the most bang for your buck, read history. The science of history will give you the greatest return on your study, because it's just like football, man. The oppressors are running plays. And why? All right, since we talking about sport, Why do head coaches watch film on opposing team? Answer that question for me.
They want to get the upper hand. Shit, that's why.
What gives them the upper hand when they watch the other team's game film?
Figuring out everything they're gonna do.
Bam. There's only so many plays the oppressor can run. If you don't study
Yeah,
game film, what you study in history, that you going out there on the football field, not knowing what your opponent going to do, and they can do whatever they want. You may have better athletes. You may be better prepared physically. But if you don't haven't got your mental game down pat, you don't get ran over. And the same thing with us here in life. People often say that's history. That's way in the past. Why you studying that? I'm telling you, they about to run 12 down food. They did this in
yeah,
1956. They about to do it in 2025. They about to hand the ball up through the A gap. 12 down coming. I see how they set up. Prepare yourself. That's why we study history. And it's a history don't repeat itself, but it rhymes. You know, it echoes. It's very similar. And so you can have knowledge in computers, electricity, technology, mathematics, all that stuff. But if you're missing history, that's the major component to tie all that together.
yep. I mean, history. I was a history major in college. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people was wondering like, what the hell you want to major history? I'm like, some of y'all are crazy who don't want to know about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, just know your history. You should want to know that. That I thought that was common sense. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people was trying to figure out what they were going to major and minor. Like, damn man, is it that hard? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
Right,
Some of y'all
right.
should know your history. You know what I'm saying? I had a buddy who was albino. All his whole family dark skinned. He was albino. And I said, bro, don't you want to know some history about yourself? You know what I'm saying? And just, like read up on some stuff. He always say, damn, I wonder why I'm not that color. Like, pick up a book.
When you don't know history, it affects your behavior. I'm giving an example.
Yeah.
You can have a loved one, a family member, and they get amnesia or Alzheimer's. I'm gonna tell a personal story. My grandmother got Alzheimer's. I came home from college, doing one break, forgot which break it was. I walked to my grandmother. I was like I had did a million times. She was sitting across from my grandfather in their chair in the living room. I said, "Hey, grandmother," and she was agreeing. "Hey, little kid, give me a hug, the kids." It's on my father's side. I walked in and said, "Hey, grandma." She looked at me. She said, "Who is you?" Man, it was like a ton of bricks. It smashed me into the ground like a piano was just dropped on me. I know this woman know who I am. This woman fed me, housed me, clothed me, changed my shitty diapers, fed me. You understand what I know she know who I am. I'm me because of her. But when she Alzheimer's, it cleared her history. It cleared that memory bank of her history. So she don't even know who she is. She don't even know her children and grandchildren. It affected who she was as a person. It affected her behavior. Now take that from an individual level and bring it to the group. As a group, we don't want to know our history. We're afraid of some of the parts that may make us feel uncomfortable. But if we, as a group, we don't know who the hell we are. That's why we got our kids running around like hyenas in the hood. We got our women not holding up standards of women of the past. Our women had dignity, even coming out of slavery. Black women were regarded as some of the most dignified women on earth. You understand me? But we don't know our history, so we don't know the accomplishments we made. We don't
Hey,
know the
can I ask
lessons
you a
we.
question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, sit that I'm having a little trouble on this. I don't know why the Wi-Fi tripping today, but no, just something you
That's
said
okay.
just now about the women from back then
Mm-hmm.
comparison to the women today. Do you think the women today, because a lot of women today, you hear that a lot, especially with the Me Too movement, say I'm so strong, this, that, and that. And I say to myself personally, like my wife, I give her credit because she does things like I seen my grandma and my mama do. You know what I'm saying? But Like
Right.
a lot of the women nowadays, I see they will not be able to do what big mamas and them did. Because you had some women back in the days. I'm talking about back in the days who didn't even get a husband a kiss or nothing. They've been mad for 30 years, but she still came in, did what she had to do.
Family was important. You know, we wouldn't have had the
Yeah.
civil rights, human rights movement if we didn't have black families. You know, that black families led the charge. The smallest building block in any nation, and we need to look at ourselves as a nation, is the family. You know, from families, you go to extended family, you go to neighborhoods, you go to cities, you go to states, you go to a nation. The smallest building block to all that is the family. So when they want to destroy people, destroy a nation, what do you attack? You attack the family. A decision was made. Damn, I can't think of the paperwork, but in the 60s, late 60s, 70s, to confront the Black Power movement, to confront the Civil Rights movement. They said, how do we deal with this? How do we get a hand on it? What's the power base of the Black Power movement? Say the power base is the black family. Well, let's break that up. So they introduced black people never used drugs. We were the most adverse to drugs out of anybody. We ain't do no hard drug. We might smoke some weed and get drunk. We wasn't doing no heroin, cocaine, none. That was like, ugh. They introduced that shit in our neighborhood. And along with that, they introduced
And
feminism.
we couldn't afford it.
They introduced exactly. We couldn't afford it like that. That was known as the white drug. But feminism was really broke. I just saw Gloria Steinem on TV the other day. I wanted to throw a brick at the TV. You know, they came in and told our black women who were standing on the front line with us that the black man was her oppressor. How the black man your oppressor? He getting oppressed. You understand me? And so they come in with feminism, girl power, you know, strong, independent black woman bullshit. All that shit did was cause confusion, which they intended to be was a psychological operation and divided us with this old gender war thing. And at the same time, they had to have tools to go along with their rhetoric. One of the main tools they used, because a large percentage of black people was in poverty at that time, was the welfare system. They said, we'll give you food stamps, cheese, milk, commodities, somewhere free to stay, free child care. We give you
Yeah.
all that, black woman. You just got to leave your black man. And it was a devil's bargain, Faustian bargain. A lot of our black women started going that route, you know. Then they came with the child support, put child support on his behind. You know, the whole feminism thing messed us up all the way up. The modern day version of it's like Me Too. So when they divide the black family, now we done had 50 years of strong, independent black woman bull crap mentality. What we are seeing is the effects of that. It didn't happen in 1 year. It didn't happen in 5 years. This been going on 50, 60 years. A steady drumbeat of this propaganda been pushed into our black women's mind. So any arguments you have with our black men, get this food. I go give me an apartment and some food stamps. You know what I'm saying? And even middle class women, we give you a scholarship to come to college. You know, man, look, man, family is at the core of all this. Black men and black women need to realize we need each other to survive at the base level of this. Do you want black people to survive into the future? We have to unlearn a lot of behaviors that we done learned, man. You know, that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. No, I mean, hey, I agree with you, man. It's a lot of, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that, I mean, as we get further into some questions, I think we're gonna touch on some more of this stuff. But like we say, it's a lot of stuff that gets unsaid in these areas in the black communities. You know, a lot of people
Right.
divert from talking
I have
about
to
things.
go.
But like
I have to
say,
go off camera for a
people
minute,
need to hear
but
this.
keep talking. You heard? I have to go off camera for
No,
a
no
second, but
problem.
keep
No
talking. I'm
problem.
answering. Go ahead on. I'm here.
Yeah, no, you good. You good. You good. I mean, you ready for this next question?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Let's go.
All right, man. Is the revolution really being televised, or is it just being edited and repackaged?
What you see on TV is what they want you to see. When you say revolution, give me an example of what you're talking about. What they showing.
All right, for one, I'll give you two examples in one. Gil Scott Heron wrote the song "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." A lot of people
Right.
have their own idea and opinion and thoughts of a revolution. You know, you got some people war, revolution, economy, life, spirituality. But like I say, in your own opinion, like whatever revolution is to you, is it being televised now? But and I say that because everybody is putting everything, and I don't mean it so, you know, I don't mean it specifically saying on TV, because some people may say, oh, you mean on TV? No, just saying like everything's being
In media.
broadcasted, you know, the media or even amongst each other, word of mouth. Like, is it being talked about too much? Is it too late for things to change? You know what I'm saying? Is technology broadcasting too much of the revolution where nobody's acting on it? They're just broadcasting it.
Um, like I said, what they show us on TV is what they want us to know. A major revolutionary change will be if we accept the idea, leaderless idea, because the rise of a black messiah, that day's over with. We shouldn't even want that. They could just pick them off. We need a revolution in thought. We need a revolutionary idea. You know, say we all decided to find a suitable mate and get married, stay with them forever. That's a revolutionary change because the black family is a threat. We all start doing good, forcing our children to make straight A's, going overtime to teach them math and science and computer tech. Now, that's a revolution right there. That won't be televised, but it is very revolutionary. Still, we all get the idea to buy black. You ain't got to announce it. We all get on the same page. Uh, the little money we have, shit, we got more than a little bit of money. We got over $1 trillion worth of spending power. Imagine that spending power was bouncing amongst just black businesses. Imagine how many people we could hire, house, feed, retire, all that, send to college, just with a change of thought. The revolution
Yeah.
ultimately is up here in the mind. Revolution ain't and necessarily just one act or one idea. Is deciding intentionally to discriminate in a positive way. What do I mean? All discrimination ain't bad. You know, if I got two restaurants on the corner, one a Mexican restaurant, one a black soul food restaurant. I'm a positively discriminate to decide to help my folk walk in there and buy me a oxtail plate instead of going and get me some enchiladas. Why am I doing that? I'm intentionally just giving my money to the black community. That's positive discrimination. They'll fool us with the word discrimination like we doing something against God that's amoral against nature. When every other group around does this, this is the way America operates. So we need to have revolution in our minds. You know, that's what I believe.
And you know what, man, I agree with you on that. It's kind of funny you said that about it being positive discrimination. You know what I'm saying? If I'm correct,
Right.
me and I was on a conversation with our good friend Mr. Russ Stringfellow and a friend of ours, Mr. Khalid Kelleb. He's a businessman out here in LA doing big things. Shout out to Khalid. Um and me and Russ was going back and forth. I was telling him about discrimination. I'm like, man, you crazy. Discrimination is legal, man. And he said, there's no way discrimination is legal in America. And you know, we went back and forth about 20 minutes. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna just be real. Whenever you go into a store and they have a sign that says we refuse service, you know, to whoever, you know, that business owner, that's his store. He owns that. He can refuse service. That's discrimination, legal discrimination. I own this business. I could tell you can come in or you can't. So it
That's
ain't.
true. Discrimination is protected as long as you don't mention race. But you can do everything and point toward a race. I remember like in the 90s, we was wearing these starter jackets. LA Raiders, Houston Oilers, Buffalo Bill, whatever. Starter jackets was the shit. We went
The
and so
shit.
but people start getting robbed from them. And so a way to keep young black males out of businesses that say you can't come in here with a starter jacket. Well, who was that talking? That was really a race-based thing. We was the only ones wearing them. But as long as you ain't say black, you could discriminate. You understand me? No shoes, no service. Yeah, you could discriminate. So I don't know. He may need to touch up on this law degree.
Nah, hey, no, but like I said, you know me, man. I try to call him every day. We have a little debate every day about something, which was
Right.
kind of interesting. And I just it just something that popped in my head, and I was like, wait a minute, if these places can have signs up legally saying like, they can say anything, they can't make it racially, but if it's a store that don't like brothers, they could bring up some shit, say we don't like, ain't no those type of shoes not allowed in here. It may mess up our floor. You
You
know what I'm
can't
saying?
come.
It
You
could be,
can't come in here with a t-shirt and athletic wear. I've been to restaurants that say that, supposedly high-end restaurant. Now I'm about to spend $200-300 in this establishment. I got my Jordans on, a nice t-shirt, and a nice jacket. You can't come in here with athletic wear, the shoes and the t-shirt. We know who they targeting. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Come on now.
that's
You
something.
can racially discriminate without necessarily saying it. But we know it comes down to what the effect of that policy is. Who is that policy affecting? And it is
Yeah,
disproportionately affecting black folk, black men. Then black folk, black men are being discriminated against. Whether now you can give me some technicalities, some legal words, and say, "Oh no, about a letter of the law." They not, of course, yeah, that's some jumbo babble, that's some bullshit. We talking about how is affecting us.
yeah, you're right, man, and it's and it's so crazy because I can say I've been through that experience myself as far as that discrimination. I never forget real quick. It was a group out here called the Fanatics. They had a hit song. You probably heard it down there on the radio. That song, "Don't Drop That Dun Dun Dun." Hey, um, it came out, I want to say about 10 years ago or less. But one of the guys, he produced my first album, what I'm saying, that I had, and he was a part of that group. So I asked them, could they come to the club one night? It's a popping club in downtown. Matter of fact, Big Boy from 92.3 The Beat was there that night. So we in line, and security guard looks at me. Now, mind you, I got on some Tommy Hilfiger shoes at the time. They looked like Converse, but they were Hilfiger. Now, guards, he's a white guy. They pointed me out, out of everybody, pointed me out, say, what, and they sent the rookie over. Hey, my boss said you can't come in with those shoes. I'm sorry. And I'm like, what kind of shit is this? So I said, all right, I,
Yeah.
I, I get on the phone. I call the DJ up that's in there. Hey, bro, we finna go, man. Your security guard said I can't come in. I got heel figure shoes on. He said, oh, wait. He came out with the owner. The owner of the club came out. He was like, hey, that's my buddy right there. He's bringing the Fanatics through tonight. And he said, why you didn't come in? I said, hey, that dude right there said I couldn't come in, with these shoes, so I'm finna leave out of respect. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, hey, bro, you go home for the night. That's what he told the security guard. Like, bro, like, look at him. Y'all stereotyping people, and this guy was bringing somebody that could possibly bring a lot of money and people to this club.
Exactly, man. People ignore the rules that they choose to and the laws that they choose to. A law is nothing on the books if it don't have enforcement. So you decide who you want to enforce these laws against, who you can't. For example, we were talking earlier about that stupid security guard not letting Elijah one on the float.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah,
now the letter, he may be following the letter of the law, but he wasn't following the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law is intended to stop people who not supposed to be on the court from getting on the court. That's why they write them letters of the law. Obviously, they wanted Elijah one on the court. His team was the first team to do that. That's history. That's legacy. But this ignorant, biased ass white dude, I can stand on letter law. They can't find me. I don't want this N-word up here anyway. You can't go up there. The rules say you can't go. Man, get your little peon ass out of my face. You understand me? So people who lean too heavy on the law or put all their belief into the law, they not recognizing that the law is nothing when it choose not to be enforced. And then who you gonna enforce it on? And then who gonna do the enforcing? So don't come to me with all these different laws if you ain't enforcing them across the board with everybody. I'm pretty sure somebody in that stadium who didn't have credentials that white dude would let her walk on that floor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I found it crazy. I was just like, wow. And even going back, even the history of Houston Cougars, a lot of people may not know. Like I say, I'm a Texan fan, so I know a little bit about Houston sports. Even going back to 1968, when the Houston Cougars beat UCLA in the Astrodome. The UCLA Bruins was undefeated. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they beat them, if I'm not mistaken, 71-68 right there in the Astrodome. So, and this goes to some of the people I'm arguing with in the Blessed to Be a Texan fan page. I said, I want to see the play a game in the Astrodome. And everybody, oh, they need to tear it down. It's asbestos and blah, blah, blah. I said, look, I just want to see them play a game. I didn't say it was game ready, but if they decide to throw a little money into it, I guarantee you it'll sell out for the night.
Yeah, that was Elvin Hayes and Louis Sunder, huh? In that game, if I'm not mistaken. Or had he left yet? Had Kareem left yet?
No. I think Lou Alcindor was in that game.
Exactly. It was Elvin Hayes. If I'm not mistaken, it was Elvin Hayes who went to Houston. Anyway, Houston was on fire that year, like they was a few years, a decade up, damn near a decade later, with 5-7 jam. Now it's time again. It come in cycles.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of U of H. You know what I'm saying? Even I support HBCUs. They right across the street from HBCU, Texas Southern University in Third Ward. U of H is in the hood. Cross street from French's Chicken.
Yeah. Hey, I remember we was going to Russ's graduation when he graduated from TSU. Looking at U of H over there because somebody was in the. I think it was a game, some kind of game going. There was a lot of people everywhere because I remember they was barbecuing and shit out in the fucking parking lot and stuff. And I'm like, damn, man, this how they do it. I was a little kid at the time,
Yeah.
But it was a lot of damn people. You know what I'm saying? It's so crazy because see, in LA, we don't have, if I'm not mistaken, I think we do have one as of recently, but talking about back then, we didn't have no HBCUs in LA. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have that HBCU to us, believe it or not, would be like USC. And people be like, why is that a HBCU? Hey, USC is in the ghetto, is in LA, in the hood. Like it's right across the street from the Fruitown Bloods. You know what I'm saying? Like they right across the street from that hood. It's been rumored to say that they protect some of the players back in the day. Like if y'all get any issues with anybody over, y'all tell us. We want y'all to win. I'm like that's how close they are. But that's just a rumor. I don't know if that's true. But that the hood is right. Literally, you can throw a tennis ball into their hood from USC. But yeah, man. I don't know, man. You ready for this next question or what's up?
Yeah,
man?
I'm ready.
Now, this one, I got an example for you before the question because I did my own research off of what somebody said. This is an older gentleman. He's about late 70s, and he said, "You know what, man? I raised my boys myself, grown everything, and he said, I think that single parents produce more successful kids. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as in the workforce, like they strive. Some of them make it big in the pro sports or even in the workforce. They don't never go back to that struggle because they know how it was. Seeing either their mom or dad struggle by themselves." And I was just listening to him, and I said, okay. Then he said, but what's so fucked up is that he said, I'm gonna be real. Look at me, man. I'm 70-something years old, and hell, I've been divorced damn near shit. He said my whole life, basically, because the marriage didn't last too long. And he said, I'm come to believe that people raised single homes or raising kids by themselves, they're gonna make them financially stable, but they're never gonna have a good relationship. And I said, damn. So I went around just speaking to people that I know, they didn't know what I was doing. I was just asking them questions, you know what I'm saying, about stuff that went on, past and present. These are closer friends. And out of 20 people, 18 of them all had bad relationships. Can't keep a man or woman, married 2-3 times. And I said, damn. So that's the example I gave you before the question. But so that's what leads me to the question. Do you think people raised by single parents tend to be more career driven but struggle more with relationships?
No, there are actually government statistics. I can answer this a couple ways. There are actually government statistics that show the effect of being raised by single parents. Like I told you, I spent 7 years working in the penitentiary system. The majority of inmates come from single parent homes. This is a well documented fact. Um, the majority of kids who in youth authority or the Texas Youth Commission, the children's jail, come from single parent homes. Now, people who make it out, this is correct. They'll never want to go back, but they're a smaller percentage. Most people get trapped in that poverty, and poverty become a cycle. You know, more single parent homes are unstable financially. More single parent homes have lower reading standards for the boys in particular. I can go on, which is one of the reasons they attack the family. Back to what we talked about earlier. So what that dude talking about, it may be in his vicinity, you see that it may be anecdotal evidence, but the statistics don't back that up. But on the flip side, we have about 67% of single homes now. Anyway, the majority of the homes in the Black community are single. So he's seeing an overwhelming amount, and a lot of people make it up sheer drive and determination, but it's almost like finding a diamond with mud on it. Why do I have to be super nigga to get out the hood when I could be with my drive, strength, intellect? I could be at a better launching pad with both parents. You understand? Why I have to fight every day to get a scholarship when I could have tutors that my parents pay for to help me along the way? The life is easier and better with a two-parent household. Just the example of the dynamics between a man and a woman will help you in your relationship. That's the reason why a lot of us not getting married. We don't see men and women interacting positively. We don't see men and women working out their conflicts in a positive way. Most marriages that stay together a long time, they have tools and skills that we all could use when it comes to relationships and marriages. They learn how to overcome, because your wife gonna piss you off. It's a guarantee. Your husband gonna piss you off. It's a guarantee. But how do you process that and overcome that? You ain't gonna be in love every day. Anybody been married will tell you that you ain't. It's like a roller coaster emotionally, but you can't base your decisions off emotion. You have to have structure and be even keel no matter how you feeling. Have discipline to do the next best right thing for you and your family. And so when you don't see that coming from a broken home, you tend to repeat coming from a broken home. You'll give us somebody who look good, make you tingle in the groins. Y'all bam, bam, boom, boom. You jamming in that coochie. She loving you, you loving her. When that newness of that relationship wear off, now it's a struggle to stay together. Y'all don't have the tools to survive because you didn't see them tools to survive. You didn't see the day-to-day interaction between a man and a woman. I was blessed. My grandparents was married over 70 years on my daddy's side. God bless the dead. I love my grandmother and grandfather. They both passed. So I could fathom my grandfather leaving my grandmother. That was never even a thought. I couldn't fathom my grandma leaving my grandma. That thought never entered my mind as a youth, from a child way up to I was a grown man. What grandma not being with so that's that solid structure emanated through our whole family. We would all gather there on Sundays. We have a whole bunch of cousins. Them particular grandparents had 8 children, and they had, that's my daddy's brothers and sisters. They had a lot of kids. We were all here in Port Arthur. They cooked every Sunday for the whole family. They forced us to come, but they know we were some hungry muggers. We would all come over there and spend the whole every Sunday, every Sunday there as a family. Even if it was one day a week, we was a family together for that one day a week. So as a result of that, a lot of my cousins got married and stayed married. Or if they were baby mamas, they got their shit together later and got married. Or if they was some baby dads, they got their shit together later and got married. You understand me? Why? Because we had that imprint in our mind. It stayed in our brain that you stay together through thick and thin. All our family benefited from my grandparents staying together. At one time or another, we all spent the night over there because we ain't had nowhere else to go, or we was mad at our parents. Or we went ate over there because we was hungry and we knew we was gonna get a meal. You understand? So it's ripple effects through generations when people decide to stay together. And it's a benefit for people staying together. So that what that dude told you, that may be his reality, but he ain't studying everything fully. And I would suggest him to take a deeper look.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I you know what I'm saying? Like I say, I respect everybody's opinion. Say, like they said, you would never be in trouble from listening. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. That's why you don't get hostile. You just let them talk, and
Yeah.
I can entertain any thought. I learned that while somebody taught me that at Morehouse. Going back to Morehouse, I can entertain any thought that it bounce around my mind, and I can reject it and spit that shit out. I don't have to accept it, but I could play with it, look at it
Yeah.
360 degrees, and decide if it's going to benefit my life. If this is a good philosophy to incorporate to my personal philosophy. If not, I reject this shit. They keep on pushing.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what? Let me ask you this question. This is not a question that I have. I'm going to ask you this before we get to this other question. Just something in the streets. I know the streets of Texas, streets of California. It's all the same. It's a fucking the streets. Hell, the ghetto is a ghetto, no matter where it's at. There's a different location.
The whole
And
world is
it,
the ghetto.
yeah,
Boom, 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 boom.
I heard, hey, I heard a old ex pimp say, man, he said, young blood, what's the difference between somebody selling drugs in New York and selling somebody drugs in Oakland? I said, I don't know what's the difference. He said, shit, the same drug, just different price. You know what I'm saying? So the world is the same. You know what I'm saying? It just depends where you live at.
Right.
He said it might cost you more to live in the ghetto. It might cost you less to live in that ghetto, but it's the same shit. And I was like,
Right.
well, yeah, you got a point. Right.
America has a caste
But how do
system.
you,
Hmm.
yeah.
Go it on. I'm sorry. Go it on. Finish what you're
Yeah.
saying.
No. Go ahead. Finish that. Finish that.
Talk about how it's the same for black people around the country. America has a caste system. Now we know about the Indian caste system. It's based strictly off the color of their skin. The light
Yeah.
Indians got dot in the for it. They supposed to be the highest level, and they got levels all the way down to what they call the Sudras, the untouchables. That's the dark, blacker than me and you Indians, the ones who started the country, who came from Africa. They feel like they're gonna get a disease if they touch them. They dirty. America got the same caste system. It's just not as profoundly stated. That's the unwritten rules versus the written rules. So they try to make us the permanent underclass. Even when they bring groups in who are now foundational Black Americans, like we are, they bring in these different Hispanics, or they bring in Caribbeans, or they bring in even people from Africa. They try to put them above us and keep pushing us down bottom of the totem pole of the American caste system.
Yeah. And it's coincidental you brought up, you said like Indians. I got a few good friends that I met working at the airport. You work with people at the airport from all different countries. And
Right,
something that he told me that was very interesting about Indian women, like what you said about the different colors. He said, man, it don't matter none of them. But he said, man, I've been married, what did he say, 5 times or something like that, and he's only like 38 at the time, and he was like, man, I like black women, you know what I'm saying? Because Indian women, man, only time I have vaginal sex with them is just to get them pregnant that night, but everything else is anal because that's all I want. And I'm like, I said, what kind of shit is that? But he just said, yeah, the darker Indian ladies. He said the darker Indian ladies, he said I like the ones that don't. He said that don't. It's a name for it. He said the darker one who don't wear that. And I was
Mm.
like, and that's what, like, when you said that, that's why I'm like, that's crazy you said that. Like, I remember him saying this, like, yeah, the lighter ones. He said, I go down to some area where all the ones with money hang at, they all have the name of it on and their hair back and looking. I'm like, I said, damn, it's crazy how you categorize it because we look at it like, oh, look at that light skinned bro with green eyes, and look at that dark skin with ass. You know what I'm saying? Like, they categorize it the same way, but just different terminology.
Right, right. That shit was man. The Europeans fucked the world up with that shit, man. They got exposed to that when the Aryans came in from out of the Caucasus Mountains. Fucked them up. Came in, conquered the society, and flip flop shit. They had a real prosperous town called Mohenjo-Daro. The people who started in there,
Yeah.
they were known as the Dravidians. They had, as we spread out from Africa, we populated the world, right? So they spread out there. The dark people on top. The Aryans came in, went to war, knocked them out, sent them to the jungle, and put the light skinned people. They started making babies at the top, pushed the people at the top to the bottom. Europeans fucked the world up socially and economically and through war. I could go down the list. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard it on social media so much, man. Some black guy, the black guy said that, when the Europeans came over to Africa, we had the resources. They had the Bible. When they left, they had the Bible.
We had the Bible, they had the resources. Richest land to this day, richest land mass is the continent of Africa. To this day. The poorest land mass resource wise is Europe.
And
They don't have natural resources like we do. That's why they went around the world robbing people, jacking folk.
a lot of
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you back.
I don't know what's going on with the Wi-Fi today, man.
It's all good. Shit happens.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just amazing though. It's a guy. Muhammad. He's Jamaican, and I'm asking him why everywhere the Europeans go, they got to kill everybody. They got to bring war. They got to go kill and take everything. And he answered. I'm like, common sense is, when you come from a country statistically and historically proven that has no resources, what do you got to do? You got to take.
You're going to become more aggressive. And after thousands of years living in that ice and snow, they became more aggressive. And when they ran into the sun people, us, we wasn't as aggressive because it's enough fruit and food around here for everybody, man. Why are you tripping? They see that gold on their neck. You ain't got to pull your sword out, man. I'll show you what the gold is. We all well go around this bitch. Now we ain't realized that us giving them game like that, they were giving them boats and come back 2 years later and try to kill us all, enslave us. It's like, let me give you a more modern day example. It's like, say you got a seasoned, hardened group of Vietnam War veterans. They've been in the jungle fighting in Vietnam for 3-4 years. They've been killing every day. And they come home and they get into it with a pastor. They bust into the church and they about to fight the pastor and the deacons. The pastor and the deacons could be even bigger, but they gonna lose because they ain't got that fighting spirit. They ain't prepared for war. They facing war hardened individuals. I put all my money on the
Yeah.
Vietnam veterans. You understand me? And so when they came into Africa, we wasn't prepared for war. We wasn't beefing like that. We had beef, but we wasn't beefing to I'm gonna wipe out your whole civilization. You know, I'm gonna kill you and rape your wife. We wasn't on no time like that, and on no bullshit like that. So we wasn't ready for a lot of the shit we saw. You know, then they had Africans like your partner, who I got into it with, who wanted to befriend everybody outside our own group. So we had subversion. When it was people like me who was like, man, look, they about to put us on that slave ship, let's kill them. And other people like, nah, man, don't kill them. God don't want you to kill them. You understand me? So I gotta convince this fool to fight for all of us, but
Yeah.
he wanna love everybody. That's why I say sometimes love will make you
I
extinct.
mean,
Love will kill you.
yeah. How do you feel about that?
It's a flaw in our character. Chancellor Williams wrote the book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, cold book. And he went through all we went through in Africa and how we got over here and how they came messing with us and stole and robbed and raped and murdered. Our ultimate problem is we love God too much. You say, well, Milo, why you say, hold up, you can never love God too much. That's what I mean when I say that. We love God so much, which is a good quality, now, that we look for the God that we assume that the God that's in us is in other people. We assume that they have the moral compass, the moral conscience, just like we do. And they're not going to go too far with their rage. Because we can get in a rage, but we ain't going to go too far with our rage. We ain't going to kill your children if we're at war with you. But we dealing with people who was killing our children, feed them to the alligator, doing wild shit. So, and we never got that. We got to realize it's certain qualities about yourself. If they're not benefiting you, you got to let that shit go. Or discriminate on who you love and who you don't love clearly, and have a warrior mentality. And black men, we the warriors of our society. We the providers and protectors. You know, if somebody hates you, that's their problem. But if they got the power to harm you or kill you, that's your problem. You got to stop that. You have to have that fighting spirit. You have to value your life, your people enough to go to war with a motherfucker who's trying to kill you, even to this day. For instance, the Japanese were quote unquote conquered, but they had a warrior ethic, a warrior code with the samurai called the Bushido Code. They never got rid of the Bushido Code. It is transferred the Bushido Code into business. You understand me? And they saw themselves at war with the Europeans through business. That's why they became real successful in business. They still was at war, but war by other means. You don't have to always violently go attack people, but we always at war. You at war whether you know it's happening or not. People at war with you. You got to realize you in the middle of a war, and we don't, because we want to love everybody, which is good and bad. But it's bad because it's keeping us at the bottom. You know, we loving people to our own detriment. You know, it's people that we know who stand up for illegal immigrants, which is foolish to me. I don't hate them, but you come here through the right process. If we let them just flood the zone, they go to the cheapest neighborhoods first. What neighborhoods are the cheapest in America? What neighborhoods are the
It's
cheapest in
sure
America?
it's white.
It's a black neighborhood, so they gonna come flood the zone where we at. You know, it's only so much money that's in the United States. And more and more and more and more people you let in, they drain the resources that's designed for American citizens. Okay, you got it bad in your world. Your country where you from. Does that mean everybody who have it bad on earth get to come to the United States because you're doing bad? No, it's a whole bunch of poor countries on earth. You know, God chose to make you born in that poor Central America country, South America country. You know, that's just how the cards fell. It's people in Asia who doing bad. It's people in Africa doing bad. It's people in Europe who doing bad. Understand me? So we supposed to let the whole world in the United States. That's like at your house, you got a refrigerator full of food. But there's people doing bad on the street. So that means they can just come in your house, eat out of your refrigerator. They break into your house. You see them in your refrigerator, and they cooking them a good grilled cheese sandwich with the sausage. You know what I'm saying? Some French fries, drinking your Kool-Aid. You be like, man, what the hell you doing in my house? I'm doing bad out there, man. I deserve a better life. But this is my house. Don't you want me to have a better life? You discriminate against me because I'm illegal. People throw it off when they don't understand.
And you
Yeah, I
know,
just laugh at it.
it's so crazy. I've always said it's not, like me personally, like I say, I LA, we grew up with everybody, Mexicans, Salvadorians, Guatemalans, you know what I'm saying? And we met some great people from these cultures, and like I tell a lot of people, look, man, it's not about race, but you can't break a law and get away with it. Because if I go to the store right now and steal something, they're gonna throw my black ass in jail and
Right.
try to give me the max for something petty. You know what I'm saying? So like that's why I tell a lot of people, like, I don't look at it. I mean, do I think the politicians we have are racist? Yes. Do I look at it as they're doing it just to be racist? No, they're looking at it as a money thing. All right, we got one group that has allowed people to come through like at will, you know what I'm saying, with minimal repercussions, and now somebody else has to deal with it, and it's affecting a people, like you said, from the lower communities.
And they drive
You know,
up
and then
prices and a lot of the inflation. It's all kind of tangential things that happen as a result of it. Y'all getting the worst out of everybody because I think I want to say 50% of all illegal immigrants go to California compared with the rest of the country. I think I'm right on that. I just read that here recently.
yeah,
I understand that we have that moral conscience, that love, that brotherly spirit that love everybody, but you got to deal in reality and what's actually happening in the world. We are in
yeah,
the race game. Whether you want to play the game or not, that's the game you born into, you know, and you have to compete. The race game we in the United States, we got to compete. We competing for a limited amount of resources. And black people have to compete to survive. Are you are competing or are you getting competed on? You know what I'm saying? There's no such thing as a neutral team member. What I mean by that, you born on a team. You born on team black. You can't change that. You can't be neutral because the game is on from the day you come out your mama womb. It's on. Get ready, fool. Strap up. You know what I'm saying? That's like saying you on the train that's moving, so I'm gonna be neutral. You can't be neutral. You move where the train take you. We on a train called United States and we moving. You can't
yeah,
be neutral. You being affected by this whether you want to accept it or not. You know, we in a competition and you must compete or you won't survive. It's literally life or death. Do you know there's races that have gone extinct on this earth? It was a race of people on the
oh
island,
yeah,
Hispaniola, where Christopher Columbus landed. It was known as the Arawaks. It was a group of Native Americans. Ain't no more Arawaks here. Why? Because they refused to compete. They refused to fuck Christopher Columbus them up for doing that wild, stupid shit to them. It was on the other islands, they had Tainos. There's still some Tainos here, but badly. They refused to compete. And black people are refusing to compete because we want to love everybody. It ain't about your feelings. Fuck your feelings. Do you want there to be black people here in the future? Do you want to be black people here in 10 years? Because the way the economy going, if it drop out, they going to look for scapegoats. And who was America's scapegoat? You already know who that is. You know, you're in the game whether you recognize it or not. Now, sometimes we're on the sidelines of the game and we don't think the game going on. It may appear that you unite not in the game. What I mean by the sidelines, We not in direct competition because we compete for jobs, school, resources, house. We compete for everything. When you put a job application in, you are entering a competition. You know, when you apply to go to college, you're entering a competition. And when you let people illegally enter the competition, you put the odds against you. That's unfair competition. I don't mind fair competition. You come from another country, fool, come here the right way. We all compete. But when you flood in this area illegally, that's like Team Black being on a football field. Every race got a NFL team. We're on offense. We got 11 people. You the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? I'm the big fullback. It's 11 people on offense. We playing against Team Hispanic. They got 22 people on defense. He said, hold up, referee, why they got 22? Look, man, are you racist? You don't like your league? No, it ain't about this. The rules of the game. Look, man, they doing bad because they hard workers. Fool, you gonna lose every time. It's unfair competition. Open your mugger eyes. God damn. I don't understand how people don't understand what's going on. You know, you setting yourself up for failure. You setting yourself up to become extinct. You setting yourself up to be dominated. What if we get the Europeans off our neck for another group of people put their foot on our neck and oppress us? That's all we doing. All right, back to we're on the sidelines, not compete. We're on the sidelines. That's like when we at weddings, other groups, funerals, sporting events. We may go to their house for a barbecue, bar mitzvah, whatever. So we think the game not going on. Now you just on the sideline in this competition, drinking Gatorade. The game's still playing. You understand me? You can even marry somebody for a separation. The game still continues. The game never ends. And I don't think our folks grasp that concept. They think we're being rude, we're being evil, we not being nice to other groups, and we should be that way. Fool, do you want to survive? It ain't about niceties. It's about the reality of the situation you living in, you know. God damn. I don't get it, man. And the more I talk, the more I feel like I beat my head against a brick wall, because when folk hear me, they put up a wall oftentimes, unless what saved me is brothers like you. I still commune with brothers I went to Morehouse with. I need like-minded people around me. You know, I need like-minded people I can bounce ideas off of. So I won't think I'm crazy. I'll be like, that, am I the only person seeing this shit? You know, our emotions is encouraging us.
No, well,
yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, no, well, you like you say, we got a lot of people who just don't want to speak up on anything. You know, they just want to keep their mouth shut, and you can't, how do I say it? You can't help a team win from behind the scenes in every sport. Some sports takes behind the scenes support, but in some sports, everybody got to be on the front line. And the sports that we need to win at nowadays needs everybody to be on the front line.
Right. I agree. And just bring we let me read this excerpt if you don't mind.
Go ahead. I'm gonna go mute. Go ahead.
There's a book. There's a book I done read. We talk about how can black people get power in the world, where the blueprint literally been written. And it's a great book. I endorse it. This is The Blueprint for Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson. You know, we have master teachers that were put here that have laid down the law for us. We just got to study. Readers are leaders. You got to read. And Dr. Claude Anderson is another one. Dr. John Henry Clark. There's people who spend a lot of brain power and energy studying our problems. And they came up with ideas, blueprints, and solutions, so we don't have to recreate the wheel with every generation. We can just study and apply, implement, and add on to what's been going on. On page 28 of the Blueprint for Black Power, I got it highlighted, page 28. Excerpt talking about politics, because a lot of black people think the Democrats and political power is our salvation, which is not. He says black politics and activism without the black ownership of and control over primary forms and bases of power such as property, wealth, organization, etc., is the recipe for black political and non-political powerlessness. You know, the rather obtuse pursuit of political offices, running for offices frivolously, individualism, and a ballot box as the primary sources of power by the black community and its politicians without its ownership of and control over important resources has actually hindered the development of real black power in America. And I listened to one of his speeches one time. He was like, well, think about it. We got more black judges since the 50s and 60s. And as a result of that, we got more people incarcerated. We focus on the wrong thing. We got more black teachers. We got more high black dropout. He went down a list of different things. I'm like, damn, he said we got more black people with MBAs, Masters in Business Administration since the 50s and 60s. It's going up exponentially. And we got less black businesses, less black ownership of businesses, small businesses, or any business.
Hey, Milo,
because we got
a live audience listening also, just letting you know.
I got a what?
You got a live audience over here. No, keep going. They
okay.
liking what you're saying.
Yeah. Our minds in the wrong place. In fact, I propose we stop voting for 8 years and put all our mental power, ingenuity, and resources in the building of black businesses, only spending with black people wherever we can, creating black jobs, moving back together, creating black communities. That's our path to freedom. Let me give you an example. When the Chinese come here, they create Chinatown. What are they doing? They're aggregating their resources. They discriminate in a positive way, like we talked about earlier. They choosing to live next to each other, spend money with each other, support each other business, support each other kids. In Houston, they got high school where they all of them speak Chinese. They even get the local government to co-sign that, and local government will co-sign that. Why? Because they got economic power. You got little Italy's, little Vietnams, Greek towns, all this stuff. We could just look at what they doing to emulate it. And they say, well, y'all being racist. I spending money with black people. Well, look, they doing it in Little Mexico. They doing it in Chinatown. Why? Sometimes I think we the only true Americans. Because we the only ones believe all this bullshit. American pie, equality. We the only ones really, really practice the American ethics. We the only ones who really wholeheartedly believe in that shit. Everybody else say it, but they're not doing it. Let me give you an example. 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education. You can look this up. In fact,
yeah.
Don't believe nothing I'm saying. In fact, I'm telling you, I don't believe nothing I'm saying. Go research everything I'm saying. I'm hoping to prick your mind. 1954, Brown versus Board of Education was passed, forcing the integration of schools. They done it slowly, but from 1954 up to now, what exploded? Private schools, parochial schools. Exploded. Why? They didn't want to send their children to school with your black behind. Joe Biden say he want his kids going to school in no jungle with no black students. Yeah, that's Joe Biden. So even when it passed laws, they showed we got a 500-year history of how they feel about us and treating us. We trying to get people to love us. They can hate. You can hate me. I don't give a damn. Just get out of my way. I ain't going on offense, trying to harm nobody physically, but I will defend myself. I believe in my Second Amendment rights. And I have to go to penitentiary for defending myself and my family. Well, that's just my lot in life. But I'm not going out my way to hurt nobody. Just stay out of my way. You understand me? And I think us trying to get people to love us is a downfall. Kwame Stokely Carmichael said a quote about I'm loosely paraphrasing about Dr. Martin Luther King. He said he spent a lot of time trying to appeal to the moral conscience of the dominant race in society. He said, now that's all fine and dandy, using religious and spiritual principles to try to shame or guilt them into doing the right thing. He said, but what if you doing all of that appealing to somebody who have no conscience? You're wasting your time. And ultimately say we have to rely on other people treating us good, loving us back like we love them. What if they change their mind? Don't put yourself in nobody else's hands. You control your own destiny. You feel me? And the best way to do it, tear down, build it back up. Tear Black Wall Street down, build it back up.
Yep.
They be trying to exterminate us, and we still here. We ain't going nowhere, And Trump is a blessing and a curse. He a blessing, but a lot of people think he a curse. Why? Because he put in the
Can you
scab off
elaborate on?
America. He put in the scab off American society. A lot of black folk friends who they thought loved them, they shocked to see their ideas of their Facebook friends or Twitter friends with them. They shocked to see how they really feel about race relations. They shocked to see how they really feel about the economy and money flow. Keep resources in their group and keep it away from other groups. Yeah, that's the game here in America. That's been the game since day one. They doing what they supposed to do to make continue white survival, continue Mexican survival, whatever survival. We need to do what we need to do to continue black survival. And not be ashamed of doing it. You understand me? That's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, man, a lot of the stuff that people are afraid to speak about, we're gonna talk about the shit on this. So I mean, hey, stuff needs to be said, stuff needs to be heard. And what's so crazy is because the stuff that you're saying, a lot of people who aren't black may agree. I have some close friends who aren't black who talk about issues that blacks face more than some blacks and saying it's fucked up. And like I met a guy that's white who has the same last name as me, and history shit that his people probably own my people. You know what I'm saying? Like those are real shit.
Right.
Um, but it's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? And while I'm on that subject real quick, us being relatives, you know what I'm saying? Like that's something I was telling to our buddy Russ that as far as on our, how do I say this? Well, my mom, my grandma, your grandma, Taurus's mom, or Russ's mom, it's like you need to know your history because we got a deep history. Like on that Roy side, there's a deep fucking history, man. Like I'm talking about
little bits and pieces that come out. You be
just
like, God damn.
and, hey man, just like the stuff you said about reading, man. Like I read some shit and I'm gonna take a trip to Canada to I didn't pull all this shit up, where that would be my great grandfather. You know what I'm saying? That's some crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? Damn, just to know
that
they love me running through it.
Yeah.
But just reading up on that, and I had to think to myself. I said, "Damn!" Like I was telling my son, he said, "Damn," because my wife is part Trinidadian, so I tell my kids like, "Shit, really in your bloodline, my daddy's background, they came from off them slave ship from South Carolina, migrated to Georgia, then moved to Arkansas on a Native American land." I was telling my pops, "You could be naturally Native American, but I know y'all came from some slave cats because them niggas was being picking cotton for the longest." It ain't funny, but
yeah,
they been picking cotton for the longest.
And a lot of black people always talk about we got Native American in us, which is true, but a lot of them don't accept that. They reject that, the Native Americans, and also we are Native Americans, but I'm talking about the red Indians. I'm put it that way. Uh, they owned us as slaves when they went to the Oklahoma territory. You know, they kicked the white folks kicked them out of Georgia. That was Cherokee Nation in Georgia, Cherokee, Choctaw. They kicked them out, sent them on the Trail of Tears, made them walk to Oklahoma. You understand me? And all them had slaves. They were so hardcore, wanting to be down with the slave system. The Five Nations, Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, couple other ones. I'm just going off the dome, so excuse me. They fought.
Milo,
They fought for the South.
Milo.
They fought for the South.
This brother right here. This is Oklahoma. I ain't gonna say his age, but he's pretty close to 100, still walking off of Native American land in Oklahoma. He said his grandmother was in the Trail of Tears.
Ain't that something?
His granddaddy was a slave till he was 9
Ain't that
years
something?
old.
And nice to meet you, brothers. I'm honored to meet you.
Press your mind, man. Everything you enlightening this young brother on is factual.
Thank you.
Factual and like I always believe, like my granddaddy told me, he said, man, he said, if it rains on your ass on Thursday and you don't have no umbrella, and he said Friday's sunny and bright, and Saturday's gonna rain again, and you lay on your ass and don't take care of business, don't cry. Don't cry.
Exactly. Suck it up.
So, hey man, don't cry. You know, he said, you still waiting on 40 acres and a mule. How long you been waiting? He said, man, in the game of war, it's not the one who's right or wrong. The one that wins is the one that's right.
Exactly. Yeah. Another thing Amos Wilson advocated was the
well, you see who I hang around. You know, a lot of people always thought I was weird. Oh, you don't hang around motherfuckers your age for what? You know?
Now you hang around who feeds you intellectually and spiritually. You know, you got their gift. You understand me? You connected to the ancestors. That's what you doing. But back to what I was saying about Amos Wilson, he always preached the study of military science. And I got on that. I read the Art of War. I read about the Bushido Code. I even listened to read about von Clausewitz, white military science. Why? I play chess. Why? Because military science is happening to you. You know what I'm saying? Just like studying them playbook. You got to see the moves that people making. And you have to know how to prepare to defend yourself. Man, look, I'd have been down here when society just dropped out at least 3-4 times. What I mean? With no police, with no lights, with no social services. We down here after hurricane, you understand me? And we was like that for a couple weeks, 3 weeks at a time, a month. And you could see when police presence ready to remove the nature of man, how the beast would come out of motherfucker, excuse my language. You know, so society could drop at any moment. You got to be prepared to survive, man. And people who be like, I don't need no weapon. Man, look, man, it's your job as a man to defend your family, your kid. If somebody kick in your door and you could have stopped them and raped your wife in front of you, harm your kids, if she survived that, she ain't gonna never think you as a man no more. Because even if you got tired of with her because you couldn't protect her. You're supposed to die protecting your loved ones and your family, man. What we want to love everybody. The men, the black men, we ain't supposed to be lovers. We're supposed to be fighters. Let the women love. Let the women go through life with their emotions. It's the yin and the yang. You understand me? And I get pissed off when I hear, and it typically comes from black men who was raised by their mamas. They think we gotta love her. They done tapped into their feminine side a little bit too much. I ain't saying they gay, but their feminine energy, their feminine emotions, they done tapped into that shit, their feminine mindset, said they done accepted that shit and they speaking that femininity out their mouth as a big old ass black man. That pisses me off.
Oh man. Hey, but I feel what you're saying, man. I feel what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? A lot of people don't realize a lot of this stuff goes on in life. You know what I'm saying? This is some shit that we have to deal with. Some people don't want to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Some shit you got to go through and deal with. You can't go around it. Some shit you got to go through it.
Right.
You know, but I got one more question for you, man. You ready for this, Brother Milo?
Yes, sir.
Well, like I say, this last question is pertaining to a lot of the stuff that's going on. I've been asking people this last few interviews, just the whole scandals, the Diddy situation. I don't know if you followed it, even with the big U situation here in California. With the whole allegations and things. But this leads me to this question. This happens in a lot in black communities. So how can we move forward as a community when extortion and exploitation in our own neighborhood still goes unspoken?
Every race have degenerates, derelicts, people going against the grain who harming their own people. And you have to deal with them people legally or extra legally, extrajudicially. You understand what I mean?
Like China.
I'm talking about the United States. Let me give you an example. The mob, the reason the mob blew up the Italian mafia because of derelicts in a world, extortionists, people like that. You know what they would do? They wouldn't even go to
What
police
was
because
that?
the police wasn't gonna do nothing. They would put them fools to sleep, and nobody told. Why? Because they harming us as a group. They harming us as a community. If you black, but you don't accept being black, or you don't act like you black, or you harming black, it's our job to treat you like you not black. Even if you're a motherfucking family member, you understand me? And there's only so much I can say, because I ain't gonna let no podcast send me a penitentiary. But you get my message. It's some of these
Simple as that.
motherfuckers that gotta go to sleep. Whether
Simple
they
as that.
our family or not, they in the way. If they can't get down with the program, they got to motherfucking lay down. That's all I got to say. I ain't advocating nobody. I'm just telling what the thing is. I'm not a member of a gang, never been, but I will defend myself.
You know what? Hey, and that's all that needs to be said right there, man. This was west of the 110. My brother Milo came through, man. You know, shit, man. We've been on here for almost 2 hours, man. Um,
I enjoyed it.
you know what I'm saying? Hey, I try to hit people with something different, you know what I'm saying? So this is I'm trying to bring interviews to people from knowledgeable people. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody coming through. Like I say, I appreciate my boy What is Gooding last week. I appreciate you coming through. Is it anything you wanna let people know? I'm gonna give you the floor for give you 2 minutes on here if you want it, man. It's on the dot. One. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, take
Yeah.
your time and say what you say.
Short message. Love those who love you. Love your children. Be the provider and protector that you're supposed to be if you're a black man. Love your people when all the forces in the world are telling you to be an individual. Understanding that's propaganda. Understand that nobody is coming to save us. Understand that you can't act your way out of being black. You on team black. Embrace that shit. Love that shit. We fight till we die. We some survivors. You got a beautiful black history. You have a beautiful, wonderful black history. We're the first people on earth. Everybody come from us. You understand? Why would you be ashamed of that? Fuck what they say. Fuck what they thinking about. You know, buy black, love black, and stay black. I want to thank you for letting me be on the show, Ken. Folk. Much love.
Well, ain't nothing but love, man. We just chilling. My live audience, G Shane came through to hear the knowledge drop. He appreciated, you know what I'm saying? We had a
Much
good
love,
time.
OG.
Pleasure is mine. Pleasure is mine. Because you're not sleeping each time. It's not the color of the skin. character, the content
The
of the
content
character
within.
you know, and I believe that it's a spiritual thing. It's good against evil. It's not a color thing, you know, because if you check South Africa, you know what I'm saying. They have white Africans. It's what they call them, you know. So like, man, it's man, even growing up as a kid, you know, if you black, get back. If you white, you all right and all that. They
Yeah,
play
if you're
the
brown,
capitalist
stick
in the man's
around.
mind.
Yeah, yeah, you're
You
right.
know, man,
Yeah.
and they so doing the forehead of us now. They can shoot lasers out of the sky. You know, and the scriptures will tell you that man, the military got some things that astonishing. You know, we so far behind, man.
We're gonna get there. Even if
Yeah,
it's
man. We
everybody
gonna
don't make it, we still gonna get there.
we gonna get there, man. But like I said, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. We I'm going live tonight. I don't know if you're available to go live tonight, so I'll be there live tonight.
Send me the link.
After
I'll try to get there.
I'll send you the link after this interview live tonight, or no, tomorrow night. That'll be live tomorrow night. But yeah, man, finna get out of here, man. Like I say, real talk don't end. It just takes a break. So be safe, be solid. We'll holla.